Welcome back. The European Union has warned the Turkish military not to get involved in the latest political battle. Now, the army has seized control several times in the past, but is it likely to do so again? That's the key question Lucy Ashton looks into.
An annual show of strength by the Turkish military. A reminder that this is one of the world's largest armies and a real force in the country's politics. Turkey has been through 4 coups in the last 50 years. In 1960, officers seized control, frustrated by an ineffective and corrupt government. Some cabinet members were executed. The country returned to civilian control within a year. 11 years later, the army forced the prime minister to resign amid civil unrest. 3 years of street battles between the communists and ultranationalists had brought the country to its knees. The military helped to set up a new coalition cabinet from all parties. Almost a decade later, the army stepped in again amid deep political chaos. It suspended the government and banned all political parties. That time, the military took charge for 3 years. The latest coup, in 1997, was of a different sort. It was called postmodern. Generals asked Turkey's first Islamist prime minister to resign, which he did. Many say Turkey has now moved beyond coups. Generals have backed off in an attempt to help Turkey's entrance to the European Union. However, no one thinks the army is about to give up its political role just yet. It's likely they will continue to work behind the political scenes for some time to come.
Well, our guests once again, Yasin Aktay from Seljuk University, Emin Şirin is the Vice President of the Youth Party, and Cengiz Aktar, a journalist at the Turkish Daily News. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Cengiz, getting your intake into this, do you think it's likely that the army will launch a coup once again? Will it be so easy this time as on previous occasions?
No, I don't think so. Although some journalists today called this ultimatum an E like electronic coup, but because the declaration appeared on their website first, and but I don't think the Turkish army is neither willing or will go for a coup d'état in Turkey. No.
All right, Mr. Amin, what's the feeling amongst the opposition parties? What would they prefer, an Abdullah Gül presidency or a military coup? Would they be amongst those who say that even a coup is not the solution or the option?
This is not even a question that I would like to answer. A military coup in Turkey should not even be discussed. We are opposing to the presidency of Abdullah Gül because of the democratic reasons and because of legal reasons, but in no way, nobody in the opposition, in my belief, would be supporting a military coup. Absolutely not.
All right, let's bring Mr. Yasin Aktay into the discussion once again. Suggestions that perhaps the way out of the standoff might be for constitutional reform and perhaps even to have the president directly elected. Is that something the AK party might try and use as a way out of a very serious standoff with the army?
Yes, this is indeed in the agenda of AKP at least after that presidency turn, if it is achieved. The next reform packet, the democratic reform packet, was already to make the president be selected by people, by popular vote directly.
But does the AK party really believe that the army would accept such a situation? Or, I mean, how concerned are they that a coup may be a real reality very soon?
The coup, I don't think the coup is a close reality. The coup is provoked by some nationalist, pro-nationalist groups and by the oppositional parties indeed, and they are not honest indeed. The oppositional parties are realizing that they cannot, forever they cannot achieve in this way because they have no any sympathy in the popular sympathy, and in any case now the AKP is in the point of challenging all the parties to go to the elections, and so now the only party indeed AKP is really very eager to go to the elections. The other ones, I think as an analyst, I am not a pro AKP indeed. What I see is all from my observations, and I am living among the people. I am a sociologist, and I see everything. And I think those oppositional parties, the points of view of oppositional parties, want discrimination now on behalf of themselves, because they say in the case of real democracy we have no chance to win. So give us some advantages.
Let's take that allegation too, Mr. Amin. As you say, you're more of a Democrat than a secularist. So would you like to jump in there? I saw you shaking your head in disagreement.
Not only disagreement, I'm smiling, even laughing. I mean, Mr. Yasin Akbay is more partisan than the partisans of the AKP. Well, if you are preparing a reform, why tomorrow and not today? We are proposing for the last year, for a couple of years, that the president should be elected by the people directly. So if there is a need of reform, why would you like to do it tomorrow and not today? Let's make it today and let's go to the people immediately, now.
All right, Mr. Yassin, your response to that? Is that a gauntlet you think the AK party will be willing to pick up?
More than that, it's more than that, a gauntlet, because the provocation that is coming from the AKP,
all right, Mr. Amin,
they are holding to the power with 25%.
All right, let's give Mr. Yassin an opportunity to answer that.
Indeed, in the time of the period, power period time of AKP, about nine packet of democratization has taken place that haven't taken so far. And so why not tomorrow? I say it is practically very difficult from now on to put such kind of packet, because so far whatever they want to do in constitution they couldn't do without the permission or without the help of the existing president, and anything that they could do would be even rejected or resisted, because it would be considered as something like limiting or constraining the authority of the existing president, and this will create some more.
I'd like to bring in Mr. Cengiz into the discussion once again. And is perhaps the bigger picture and the deeper sort of element here is social change in Turkey, and the difficulty stems from an establishment trying to cope with a very changing social and political landscape?
Well, you have a point, of course. I mean, some analysts and other sociologists think that way, that there is a new bourgeoisie in the country with AKP taking hold, and this is true. But I would like to come back very briefly to the previous discussion. The main problem in Turkey is not the direct election of the president. The main problem in Turkey is the national threshold for the general elections, for the elections at the parliament. In Turkey, the threshold is at 10%. It's huge. This is why, with 30–35% of the vote, you can end up like AKP in the parliament with a full majority. This is the real issue.
But the national threshold, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Cengiz, the national threshold, would that really change much? I mean, even some of the opposition parties have, and secularist parties have rarely, in the last decade, gained an overwhelming landslide majority in any of the elections either.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of lowering the threshold. In Turkey, there is a crisis of representational legitimacy. Why today people, Mr. Amin Shirin was just mentioning this. I mean, why people are rejecting the candidate of AKP? Unfortunately, this is the real reason behind, because they got only 35% of the vote and they have the clear majority at the parliament. So according to the present setup, of course they have the right to elect the president or their candidate as president. But when it comes to the real candidate, which is not a consensus candidate at all, and there is a problem and people go out in the streets. And this is the real issue Turkey is facing. I mean, if now we will have general elections pretty soon, and if there is no change in the threshold, we will end up with the same problems.
All right, and if we do end up there, we will be here to talk about them once again. So I'd like to thank our guests for joining us from Turkey, Yasin Aktay from Seljuk University, Mr. Amin Shirin, Vice President of Youth Party, and Cengiz Aktar from the Turkish Daily News. Thank you all for for joining us, and thank you, the viewer, for joining us here in this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions. You can email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. For now, it's goodbye.